The Vatican's walls have stood for centuries, silent witnesses to secrets that stretch beyond memory, beyond the reach of ordinary eyes. Walking through its corridors, one feels the weight of history pressing down like a fog, thick with whispers that seem to cling to the stone itself. The ancient buildings breathe with the lives of those who came before, each archway, each carved relief a testament to devotion, power, and hidden knowledge. Shadows dance along the cold marble floors, flickering in the torchlight of those who move unseen, carrying messages never meant for the world outside. Beyond the echo of footsteps, there is a hushed, deliberate, heavy silence that blankets the heart of the Vatican. It is here, in these labyrinthine passages, that the stories of forbidden knowledge linger. Here, the very air seems charged, vibrating with truths long concealed, truths that the world is not yet ready to confront. The walls themselves hold memories of murmured confessions and clandestine meetings, of scrolls and tomes locked away, their pages yellowed but still potent with revelations that could shift the foundation of faith and history alike. It is in this quiet darkness that our guide, an ex-priest whose life was devoted to guarding these secrets, steps forward. His voice carries a weight, a tremor of urgency, yet calm reflection. There are things, he begins, eyes glinting with both fear and reverence. We were never meant to reveal truths that have been hidden for centuries, buried beneath layers of doctrine and silence, kept from those not prepared to understand their magnitude. His confession is not one of rebellion, but of warning, and echo from the inner chambers where knowledge is both a gift and a burden. Deeper into the Vatican lie the hidden vaults, a network of rooms so well guarded that most have never glimpsed them. Behind doors of iron and inscriptions in languages forgotten by time, relics, manuscripts, and artifacts accumulate, the weight of secrets too dangerous to see the light of day. The air within these chambers is thick with the scent of parchment and wax, the remnants of centuries of devotion and vigilance. Every object tells a story of power, of influence, of ideas considered so perilous that only a select few could ever hope to touch them. The ex-priest pauses, his gaze distant, as if listening to the silent conversations between stone and spirit. He speaks of texts removed from the public eye, of histories revised, of knowledge suppressed not for malevolence, but for protection of the world from truths too vast to bear. Every whisper he recounts is a key, unlocking fragments of a puzzle too immense for any single human mind. And yet, he emphasizes, the time for caution is changing. The secrets of the past are stirring once more, seeking those ready to understand, ready to awaken to realities long denied. Within these corridors, every shadow hides a story, every stone a witness to the careful choreography of silence. The Vatican is not merely a place of faith, it is a living archive of humanity's deepest fears and highest aspiration. And as the ex-priest guides us through its hushed halls, we begin to see that the whispers behind the walls are not merely echoes of history. They are warnings, they are a call to listen, to recognize the power we hold, and to understand that the line between revelation and destruction has always been perilously thin. Long before the grandeur of the Vatican as we know it today, the Church was a fragile and scattered institution, emerging from the ashes of a crumbling Roman Empire. It was a time of chaos, uncertainty, and uncharted spiritual territories. In this climate, power was forged in silence. Early leaders recognized that knowledge itself was both a weapon and a shield. What was taught to the masses would define obedience. What was hidden could determine control over destiny itself. The ex-priest explains that this early church was not only consolidating spiritual authority, but also safeguarding information, considered too potent, too transformative for general consumption. Every letter of the apostles, every record of miracles or teachings, was scrutinized. Some were celebrated, others buried or rewritten, all in a deliberate effort to craft a narrative that would protect the Church and, in turn, the faithful from truths that might fracture belief. And yet, not all knowledge was destroyed. Some manuscripts, the lost books of the apostles, were carefully removed from circulation. These texts, often containing alternate interpretations of Jesus' teachings, accounts of miracles omitted from the canonical Gospels, and revelations of spiritual practices drawn from mysticism, were deemed too radical. Why? Because they empowered the individual, encouraged personal spiritual awakening, and challenged the centralized authority of the Church. The Church's custodians feared that widespread access could unravel the carefully constructed hierarchy. The ex-priest recounts these texts with reverence, describing them as keys to a wisdom that could illuminate human consciousness. Imagine, he says, the ideas of love, compassion, and divine understanding articulated in ways that modern scholars cannot even imagine, texts that hinted at humanity's potential to transcend mere material existence. These books were hidden not out of malice, but out of the stark awareness that humanity, unprepared, might misuse such knowledge or fail to comprehend it entirely. Guardians of doctrine, spiritual gatekeepers trained in secrecy, were established. Their role was to maintain the balance between revelation and suppression, ensuring that only those deemed worthy could access the deeper truths. Initiates were tested for wisdom, moral clarity, and humility, echoing the ancient mystery schools. The ex-priest emphasizes that this tradition was not unique to the Vatican. Similar structures existed across cultures and eras, but within the Vatican, it became a centralized force, a silent empire built on knowledge, observation, and quiet authority. Over the centuries, as kingdoms rose and fell, as empires expanded and collapsed, the Vatican's secret empire strengthened. It was not built on armies alone, but on archives, records, and the meticulous curation of information. Every scroll hidden, every artifact locked away, every ritual preserved became a thread in a tapestry of control, a tapestry designed not only to protect the Church, but also to safeguard humanity from forces they were not ready to face. And yet, with the consolidation of this power came tension. Those who sought truth for personal enlightenment were often at odds with the institutional desire for control. Conflict arose between revelation and authority, between the free pursuit of knowledge and the careful orchestration of what could be revealed. These struggles were subtle, hidden beneath layers of ceremony, doctrine, and hierarchy, yet they shaped the very foundations of the Church. The ex-priest's voice grows solemn as he speaks of the cost. The knowledge that could have elevated humanity remained locked, the full scope of divine teachings obscured, and generations of seekers denied the clarity they were destined to receive. But he also hints at a larger purpose. The balance between revelation and suppression was a protective measure, one intended to preserve both the Church and humanity from itself. In understanding the birth of the secret empire, we glimpse a Vatican that is not merely an institution of worship, but a fortress of knowledge, a repository of the extraordinary, and a place where silence carries as much weight as Scripture. The power forged in silence was not idle, it was deliberate, intentional, and eternal. Beneath the ancient stones of the Vatican, hidden from the eyes of pilgrims and tourists alike, lies a secret library, a place the ex-priest describes as a silence charged with suppressed truth. It is a labyrinth of hallways, vaults, and chambers, filled with scrolls, codices, and manuscripts that the world was never meant to see. Here, time seems suspended. The air itself is heavy with the weight of centuries. The scent of aged parchment, polished wood, and candle wax lingers in every corner, a subtle reminder that knowledge can be both sacred and dangerous. The ex-priest recounts his first descent into this hidden archive. Torchlight dancing on stone walls revealed shelves stretching endlessly, stacked with manuscripts whose content had been deliberately erased from public consciousness. Every text was a whisper of a forgotten world, a shadow of truths that had once shaped civilizations. Some described rituals and doctrines too powerful for common understanding. Others contained visions, prophecies, or historical accounts that contradicted the official Church narrative. Among these forbidden texts were chronicles the Church never released, records of events and teachings that, if revealed, might have challenged the authority of religious leaders or shifted the very foundation of faith. He mentions letters written by early apostles, describing spiritual journeys and cosmic insights that the canon omitted. There were diaries from monks detailing secret societies, knowledge-sharing rituals, and initiations that echoed the ancient mystery schools. Each document was meticulously catalogued, preserved, yet hidden, as though the Church itself was aware that revelation without preparedness could lead to chaos. Then there were the maps of the pre-Christian world. The ex-priest describes them as astonishingly detailed, depicting lands, civilizations, and waterways that mainstream history does not acknowledge. These maps contained star charts, cosmic cycles, and alignments, suggesting that the ancients had a knowledge of astronomy and mathematics that rivaled modern science. Some maps hinted at civilizations wiped out by cataclysmic events, their wisdom almost lost to time. The precision of these artifacts suggested that the Church, in its quest to control narrative, had chosen to suppress not merely religious knowledge, but historical and scientific understanding as well. What is particularly chilling, he warns, is the purpose behind the concealment. These texts were not hidden to protect political power alone, they were hidden because their content had the potential to awaken consciousness. A single unprepared individual encountering these manuscripts could experience a paradigm shift so profound it might disrupt social order, question long-held beliefs, or even endanger their own life if misunderstood. The ex-priest recalls moments when fragments of this knowledge accidentally leaked out over centuries. Scholars, explorers, or dissident priests stumbled upon hints of forbidden wisdom, only for their discoveries to be suppressed, discredited, or destroyed. He likens this to a subtle, centuries-long game of chess, where each move carefully balanced revelation and restraint, truth and safety. He also draws parallels with the Atlantis narrative. The Vatican archive, like the lost civilization, holds knowledge of a time when humanity teetered on the edge of its own potential and destruction. The artifacts and manuscripts below the Vatican act as both a warning and a map reminders that unchecked power, whether spiritual or technological, can lead to collapse. Every corner of the archive seemed alive, he says, echoing the energy of those who had safeguarded its contents. There were texts written in languages long forgotten, symbols that seemed to resonate in the mind rather than the eye, and diagrams that conveyed ideas beyond conventional understanding. The library was not just a repository, it was a living archive, a test for those who dared enter, challenging the intellect, morality, and humility of every visitor. In essence, the forbidden texts of the Vatican archive were a mirror to humanity, itself capable of illuminating the highest potential or revealing the darkest vulnerabilities. They were reminders that knowledge is never neutral. It carries consequences, responsibilities, and the weight of history. For those who understand, these manuscripts could inspire transformation. For those unprepared, they were dangerous beyond measure. The ex-priest closes this chapter with a warning. The secrets of the archive are awakening. In an age of instant information and technological omniscience, the hidden knowledge that was once safe beneath stone vaults now stirs in collective consciousness. Humanity is approaching the threshold that the ancients once faced, the choice between enlightenment and destruction. The ex-priest leans closer, his voice lowering as if afraid the walls themselves might listen. What I am about to tell you, he says, was never meant to reach the public. These are truths Jesus taught, truths erased, obscured, and hidden beneath layers of doctrine for centuries. He describes teachings that go far beyond the moral parables familiar to the faithful. Jesus, he claims, spoke of the inner workings of the human soul, the vibrational nature of reality, and the unseen realms that coexist alongside the material world. He taught that true salvation was not found in ritual obedience alone, but in awakening the dormant, divine spark within each individual. This knowledge, however, posed a threat to those in hierarchical power. If widely known, it could have undermined the authority of priests, bishops, and rulers who relied on controlling belief to maintain order. The ex-priest recounts passages from secret gospels, lost to mainstream history, that describe Jesus' travels to Egypt, where he studied with Hermetic mystics. Here, he absorbed teachings of alchemy, numerology, and cosmic cycles, symbols in the ancient Egyptian texts. He explains, echo in his writings, symbols of life, death, and rebirth, of the unity of matter and spirit. Jesus integrated these concepts, weaving them into parables that seemed simple but were, in truth, encoded lessons for those prepared to perceive their deeper meaning. Gnostic influences are central to these esoteric teachings. According to the ex-priest, early Christian sects that followed Jesus closely recorded these lessons in manuscripts, now hidden or destroyed. These texts emphasized knowledge gnosis over blind faith, encouraging personal spiritual experience, rather than reliance on intermediaries. Humanity, he explains, was to awaken to its own divine potential, but only gradually, when ready. Why, then, were these teachings suppressed? The ex-priest's answer is chillingly pragmatic. Fear. Fear of decentralized power. Fear of enlightenment spreading beyond control. Fear that humanity might grasp truths too powerful for unprepared minds. The Church, in consolidating authority, deemed it necessary to silence these teachings, to maintain order and control. Doctrines were codified, books burned, and spiritual rebels silenced. What remains are only fragments, hidden in obscure texts, encoded in symbols, or whispered in secret traditions. The ex-priest guides the listener through the remnants that survived. He describes a ritualistic approach to learning these truths, meditative practices, contemplation of sacred geometry, and the disciplined study of parables with a symbolic lens. Those initiated into this understanding were not merely followers, they were seekers, philosophers, and guardians of knowledge meant to protect and transmit the teachings responsibly. What is most startling, he reveals, is the universality of these lessons across cultures and continents. Similar esoteric traditions exist: Sumerian texts, Hermetic scrolls, and even Atlantean myths as told in competitor scripts, all converging on the same principles of wisdom, balance, and the sacred nature of consciousness. Jesus' teachings, therefore, were not isolated. They were part of a global, ancient effort to guide humanity toward enlightenment while guarding against self-destructs. The ex-priest pauses, then speaks of the cost of these secrets. Those who came too close, he says, often faced persecution, exile, or death. The suppression was ruthless, not merely ideological. The church wielded fear as a weapon to maintain the silence. Yet, the essence of the teachings survived in hidden manuscripts, coded texts, and the oral traditions of small, clandestine groups who understood their importance. He emphasizes that modern humanity is now approaching a threshold similar to that of ancient times. We have technology that mirrors the transformative power once wielded by enlightened civilizations. The potential for creation and destruction is immense. The esoteric knowledge of Jesus, once suppressed, offers guidance, a framework for navigating moral, spiritual, and technological challenges. But the risk remains. Knowledge without wisdom can lead to ruin. In conclusion, the ex-priest warns that the lost teachings are not merely historical curiosities. They are living truths, keys to understanding the human spirit, the cosmos, and the delicate balance between power and wisdom. To ignore them is to risk repeating the mistakes of the past. To study them without preparation is to flirt with dangers humanity may not yet be ready to face. The lost knowledge of Jesus is a mirror, reflecting both the heights of human potential and the shadows of our hubris. It asks the ultimate question: will we rise to meet our spiritual inheritance, or will we falter as civilizations before us have faltered, blinded by ambition, fear, and ignorance? Hidden deep within the labyrinthine corridors of the Vatican, there exists a network of secret societies, some of which have endured for centuries, their existence known only to a select few. The ex-priest explains that these groups were established to safeguard knowledge too powerful or too dangerous for the general populace. Think of them as guardians of the flame, he whispers, keepers of wisdom meant to guide, protect, and sometimes restrain humanity from itself. The Brotherhood of the Black Key, he reveals, is one of the oldest and most mysterious of these societies, inspired, he says, by ancient accounts of Atlantean survivors, echoes from civilizations lost to time. They possess fragments of knowledge deemed too destabilizing for public revelation. Their rituals, cloaked in secrecy, are designed to cultivate discernment, humility, and the capacity to wield insight responsibly. The Black Key, he explains, is not merely a symbol but a representation of unlocking forbidden wisdom, a bridge between the seen and unseen, the known and the ineffable. Next, he turns to the Jesuit paradox, an institution that historically embodies both knowledge-keeping and knowledge-suppressing. Jesuits, he notes, were often sent to the farthest reaches of the world as scholars, scientists, and observers, meticulously recording the customs, religions, and sciences of civilizations unknown to Europe. They held unparalleled understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and natural philosophy. Yet simultaneously, this knowledge allowed them to shape narratives, influence political power, and ensure that certain truths never reached public awareness. They were not merely priests. The ex-priest says they were custodians and, sometimes, censors of history itself. Within these secret societies, ceremonies are rarely witnessed by outsiders. Ceremonies hidden from the public serve multiple purposes: initiation, alignment with spiritual principles, and the subtle reinforcement of ethical responsibility. These rites are reminiscent of the ancient mystery schools, Pythagorean circles, the cult of Mithras, and the Eleusinian initiations, all designed to awaken awareness while shielding dangerous knowledge from unprepared minds. The ex-priest describes halls illuminated by candlelight, the echo of chants resonating against ancient stone, and rituals that invoke cosmic cycles, celestial alignment, and the interplay of matter and spirit. He explains that these societies also act as an internal system of checks and balances. Each member is trained to recognize the seductive nature of power and the corruption it can bring. Only those who demonstrate unwavering discipline, discernment, and humility may ascend to higher levels of access. The brotherhoods are, therefore, both a shield and a sword, guarding secrets from misuse while wielding influence to preserve balance. The ex-priest recounts historical moments when these societies intervened subtly in global events. Decisions, alliances, and even conflicts were occasionally guided behind the scenes by individuals who understood the ramifications of disseminating or suppressing certain knowledge. They operated in silence, their existence largely invisible to historians. Yet their fingerprints are faintly visible across centuries of church history, political upheaval, and philosophical evolution. Yet, despite their vigilance, these societies are not immune to internal conflict. Factions arise. Disagreements over interpretation and application of knowledge create tension, mirroring the schisms that plagued ancient civilizations, including the fabled Atlantis. The ex-priest warns that human ambition, even within these hidden orders, is a constant risk. The very knowledge they protect has the potential to corrupt if wielded without wisdom, a recurring theme throughout history. He emphasizes that understanding these secret societies is crucial for grasping the broader narrative of hidden knowledge within the Church. Their existence reveals a duality. The Church is both a preserver of spiritual insight and a suppressor of potentially transformative truths. The ex-priest insists that these societies were not inherently malevolent, they were custodians, operating in shadows to guide humanity through turbulent times. Finally, he hints at the present. The societies, he notes, still exist, though their methods have evolved. Ancient rituals are now accompanied by modern intelligence, communication, and subtle influence across global networks. Yet their ultimate mission remains unchanged: to guard humanity from repeating the mistakes of the past, to ensure that the power of knowledge is tempered with responsibility, and to preserve the delicate balance between enlightenment and destruction. The ex-priest's warning is clear. The hidden societies of the Church are not relics of a bygone era. They are active, their work ongoing, and their influence profound. To understand the Church, one must also understand the shadows within it, the silent guardians of secrets that humanity may not yet be ready to embrace. Beneath the grand halls of the Vatican lie relics whose histories defy explanation, remnants of civilizations that predate recorded history. The ex-priest explains that many of these artifacts challenge conventional timelines, suggesting knowledge and craftsmanship far beyond what was thought possible in their eras. These are not merely religious objects, he says. They are vessels of lost wisdom, echoes of truths long suppressed. Artifacts locked away are scattered throughout secret vaults, hidden rooms, and climate-controlled chambers. Some are ornate, adorned with inscriptions in unknown scripts, geometrical patterns, and symbols that hint at esoteric knowledge. Others are simpler, yet equally mysterious, tools or devices whose function is unclear but whose precision is astonishing. Scholars who have glimpsed these items often report feelings of awe mixed with unease, a silent recognition that these objects connect humanity to something far older and deeper than our current understanding. The ex-priest emphasizes that access is tightly controlled. Only those with the proper clearance may study them, and many items have never been examined outside the Church's inner circles. Next are the bloodline documents, records meticulously preserved that detail the lineage of prominent religious and royal figures. These documents suggest a deliberate interweaving of power, knowledge, and spiritual authority throughout history. They hint at secret alliances, marriages, and arrangements meant to maintain access to esoteric knowledge across generations. The ex-priest warns that these records reveal far more than genealogy. They expose a calculated effort to consolidate influence, protect sacred truths, and control the dissemination of transformative knowledge. The implications are staggering. Power, faith, and knowledge have been intertwined far longer and more deliberately than mainstream history acknowledges. Finally, the ex-priest introduces the concept of pre-flood evidence, artifacts and records, believed to originate from civilizations that existed before catastrophic events reshaped the world. Carvings, tablets, and even remnants of architecture point to societies with advanced understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering. Some artifacts exhibit craftsmanship that modern technology still struggles to replicate. This evidence, he insists, parallels the narrative of Atlantis in striking ways, civilizations achieving heights of knowledge and power only to be devastated by cataclysm, leaving behind survivors tasked with preserving fragments of their wisdom. The relics are not merely historical curiosities. They carry warnings embedded in their design, symbolic codes meant to guide or caution future generations. The ex-priest reflects on one particular artifact, a small, intricately carved stone, covered in geometric patterns that align with celestial events. When observed during specific times of the year, Shadows and light reveal messages hidden within the carvings. He explains that such artifacts were not meant to be understood by everyone, but to awaken insight in those prepared to receive it. Through these relics, the Vatican possesses a silent testament to human potential and human folly. Each piece is a puzzle, part of a larger narrative connecting pre-Christian civilizations, esoteric traditions, and the Church's own hidden history. The ex-priest warns that ignoring these relics is perilous. They are reminders that the trajectory of humanity is fragile, that the lessons of the past must be heeded or risk repeating catastrophic mistakes. Yet, despite their significance, these relics remain shrouded in mystery, their true purpose and meaning known only to a select few. Scholars outside the inner circle may speculate, but their understanding is inevitably incomplete. The ex-priest's final point is chilling. Humanity may be at the same precipice as those who came before, standing atop accumulated knowledge without the wisdom to wield it responsibly. The artifacts, bloodline documents, and pre-flood evidence collectively form a map of forgotten history, a roadmap warning of the dangers of unchecked ambition and untempered power. In these objects lies the memory of civilizations long gone, the secrets of the faithful who survived, and the silent admonition that knowledge without ethics is a perilous inheritance. The ex-priest concludes, the relics are not merely objects of devotion, they are mirrors of human potential, both illuminating and terrifying. To study them is to confront the possibility that we are closer to repeating ancient mistakes than we dare imagine. Their power is subtle, their presence silent, yet their message resonates across centuries. History may be hidden, but it is never truly gone. Throughout the Vatican's hidden chambers and private archives lie prophecies that the Church has deliberately kept from public view. These are not mere vague predictions, they are warnings, carefully recorded, deeply spiritual, and often terrifying in scope. The ex-priest reveals that the most infamous among them is the Fatima third secret, a revelation that has long been cloaked in secrecy. Unlike the publicized interpretations, the unedited version describes a world teetering on the brink of disaster, a human civilization facing choices of unprecedented consequence. The third secret details apocalyptic visions, natural disasters, wars, the rise of tyrannical powers, and the suffering of countless innocents. The ex-priest stresses that these are not supernatural exaggerations, but symbolic representations of patterns humanity has repeated throughout history. The visions illustrate the delicate balance between technological advancement and moral responsibility. Just as the Atlantans once harnessed godlike power and plunged their civilization into chaos, the Fatima messages serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of unbridled ambition, hubris, and the misuse of knowledge. Next, the ex-priest explains the hidden revelations about humanity's future contained within other church prophecies. These writings, scattered across centuries, speak of environmental collapse, societal fragmentation, and spiritual decay. They describe phenomena that modern science has only recently begun to recognize: the destabilization of magnetic fields, climate extremes, and global communication networks that could be both a blessing and a tool for mass manipulation. The tone of these prophecies is ominous, yet precise. Humanity's future is not predetermined, but it is perilously close to repeating catastrophic mistakes. The messages carry both caution and instruction. They suggest that the Church has historically understood the dangers posed by knowledge left unchecked, particularly technological advancements divorced from ethical responsibility. The ex-priest notes that these prophecies are not meant to incite fear for its own sake. Instead, they were designed as wake-up calls, opportunities for humans to alter their course before irreversible destruction. The same wisdom that guided ancient societies now seeks to guide ours, but it can only be acted upon if it is acknowledged and understood. Why these messages were buried becomes painfully clear as the ex-priest continues. The Church, while a guardian of spiritual knowledge, has also been an institution cautious of mass panic. Prophecies with the power to provoke fear or disrupt societal order were hidden from the general populace. There is also a political dimension. Certain revelations threatened established hierarchies, exposing uncomfortable truths about the misuse of authority and the potential for corruption. In a delicate balance, the Church chose concealment over transparency, hoping to control the timing and context in which humanity would confront these warnings. The ex-priest reveals that many of these prophecies were encoded symbolically, disguised within religious rituals, art, and sacred texts. The knowledge could only be interpreted by those trained in esoteric understanding. those who could recognize the allegories and discern the deeper truths. For centuries, the Church relied on this inner circle of scholars, priests, and mystics to safeguard and interpret the prophecies, ensuring that their full implications would not be misused or misunderstood. Yet, despite centuries of secrecy, fragments of the messages leaked into public consciousness through folklore, visions reported by mystics, and cryptic artworks. These fragments have fueled speculation, drawing both scholars and conspiracy theorists into endless debate. The ex-priest explains that the pattern of leaks is not accidental. It is a subtle way the universe, or perhaps the guardians of hidden knowledge, ensures that humanity receives at least glimpses of the warnings when they are ready to understand them. The prophecies also highlight the recurring struggle between power and wisdom. Those who seek dominion over knowledge often fail to recognize its spiritual and ethical dimensions, leading to catastrophe. By contrast, those who respect the sacred balance between discovery and humility may guide humanity toward stability and enlightenment. The Church, in burying these messages, inadvertently contributed to both the preservation and the peril of this knowledge. It protected it from premature exploitation, but delayed humanity's opportunity to heed its full lessons. In conclusion, the ex-priest emphasizes that the prophecies the Church feared are as much about us as they are about the past. They are mirrors reflecting humanity's potential for both greatness and destruction. To ignore them is to risk repeating the mistakes of ancient civilizations. To study them carefully, with humility and wisdom, is to gain a rare chance at insight and opportunity to navigate a world on the edge of unprecedented technological, spiritual, and moral challenges. The Vatican has long been viewed as a bastion of tradition, spiritual guidance, and moral authority. Yet, behind its ancient walls, the Church has quietly engaged with modern science, understanding that the pursuit of knowledge and the study of the cosmos are intimately linked to divine order. The ex-priest reveals that for centuries, the Vatican has maintained secret observatories, research centers, and collaborations with scientists to track astronomical cycles, study genetics, and explore the boundaries of human knowledge. These hidden initiatives were not driven purely by curiosity. They were motivated by prophecy. Ancient Church documents suggested that understanding natural laws, celestial alignments, and human biology could provide critical clues about humanity's future. The ex-priest emphasizes that the Church recognized patterns repeating through history: the rise and fall of civilizations, environmental disruptions, and human ambition leading to catastrophe. By connecting science with prophecy, they sought to anticipate potential crises and prepare humanity for challenges that could otherwise remain invisible until it was too late. Clues in the cosmos are particularly revealing. The ex-priest describes encoded messages in astronomical events, star alignments, and planetary cycles. These were not random. They reflected patterns noted by ancient civilizations, preserved through the Church's secret archives. Observatories within Vatican walls have tracked anomalies in the magnetic field, fluctuations in solar activity, and changes in the Earth's rotational phenomena that modern science increasingly validates. The subtle alignment between prophecy and science suggests that ancient warnings were not merely spiritual or metaphorical, but deeply connected to observable material realities. One of the most striking aspects is the Church's understanding of energy systems and their impact on the planet. Experiments with ionospheric manipulation, particle physics, and climate research are mirrored in prophecies predicting environmental destabilization. While mainstream science approaches these phenomena with technical curiosity, the Church interprets them as potential markers of human imbalance, echoing the warnings of the Fatima Third Secret and other buried texts. These clues hint at the dangers of misusing power and knowledge without ethical guidance, a theme mirrored in the downfall of civilizations like Atlantis. The ex-priest draws a chilling comparison. Just as the Atlantans harnessed advanced energy sources without moral restraint, modern humanity risks repeating these mistakes. Our global networks, artificial intelligence, and unprecedented technological capabilities mirror the same conditions described in the prophecies. Scientific advancement, while awe-inspiring, becomes dangerous when divorced from wisdom. The Church's hidden efforts represent a subtle attempt to reconcile knowledge with morality, a way to guide humanity away from catastrophe. Finally, the ex-priest warns of the coming crisis. He explains that multiple prophecies converge on a critical point in human history, one that coincides with modern technological and environmental tipping points. Climate instability, global resource competition, rapid AI development, and societal polarization are not merely random events. They are aligned with the same cyclical warnings. The Church has documented for centuries, humanity stands on the edge of a precipice, much like the civilizations described in the ancient prophecies. Yet, the ex-priest maintains that these crises are not inevitable. They are opportunities to act, to integrate the lessons of the past into present choices. By understanding the intersection of prophecy and modern science, humans can cultivate foresight, humility, and responsibility. The Vatican's hidden engagement with scientific research is both a shield and a map, guiding us through the perilous intersection of knowledge and power. The ex-priest concludes this section by reminding us that prophecy and science are two sides of the same coin. One offers warnings through symbolic and spiritual language, while the other validates and quantifies these warnings in measurable phenomena. To ignore either is to risk repeating history. To understand both is to seize a rare chance to avert catastrophe and align humanity with the harmonious principles long preserved by those who guard knowledge from the shadows. The ex-priest's journey through the shadowed corridors of the Vatican was not merely an academic or spiritual pursuit, it was a confrontation with a reality that few outsiders could ever imagine. His decision to leave the Church was not sudden. It was the culmination of years spent witnessing secrets that weighed heavily on his conscience. "I could no longer reconcile the duality of devotion and deception," he admits, voice tinged with both sorrow and urgency. Within the ornate halls, he had seen texts carefully locked away, knowledge deemed too dangerous for the public, truths that could destabilize society if revealed. Why he left is rooted in this inner conflict. The ex-priest reveals that despite years of training, he felt increasingly estranged from the institution he had once believed was a bastion of moral guidance. He discovered that many church leaders had become gatekeepers not of spirituality, but of control. Decisions about which knowledge to reveal or suppress were driven not by wisdom, but by politics, ambition, and fear. The burden of complicity grew too heavy. He realized that remaining silent would make him an unwilling participant in the potential manipulation of humanity's understanding of its own history and destiny. The truth he believes must be told is multifaceted. It encompasses centuries of concealed knowledge, forbidden texts, and the echoes of civilizations long erased from history. According to the ex-priest, the Church has preserved fragments of a global truth, a truth linking ancient wisdom, esoteric teachings, and prophetic warnings. These pieces, scattered across hidden archives and secret observatories, form a tapestry that suggests humanity is on a recurring trajectory of self-destructs. From environmental degradation to unchecked technological power, the parallels to past civilizations are striking. His testimony seeks to illuminate these patterns and awaken a collective consciousness, capable of recognizing the peril before it becomes irreversible. The ex-priest's final testimony is also deeply personal. He describes the emotional toll of living with knowledge that could change the perception of history, religion, and the very essence of human destiny. Every revelation comes with a cost, he confesses, yet he emphasizes that sharing these insights is not an act of rebellion against the Church, but an act of moral necessity. By revealing the suppressed truths, he hopes to give humanity the opportunity to make informed choices that could prevent the repetition of historical catastrophes. The message for humanity is stark and unflinching. We are standing on the precipice of our own potential downfall, mirroring the fate of advanced civilizations that succumb to hubris, greed, and technological overreach. The ex-priest warns that ignoring these lessons is tantamount to walking blind into the same trap. Yet, within this dire warning, there is hope. Awareness is the first step toward change. By confronting the hidden truths and understanding the cyclical nature of history, humanity can learn to temper ambition with wisdom, innovation with ethics, and power with restraint. In his concluding remarks, the ex-priest paints a vision that is both haunting and illuminating. He draws parallels between the concealed knowledge of the Vatican and the larger patterns of human civilization. He reminds us that the suppression of truth, while often necessary to maintain order, comes with consequences. Knowledge withheld can be both protective and perilous, depending on how it is wielded or ignored. Finally, the ex-priest challenges his audience directly. We are at the same precipice as the ancients. The choices we make today will echo through the centuries. Will we heed the warnings, or will we allow history to repeat itself? His voice carries the weight of experience, insight, and an unwavering sense of moral responsibility. This is not merely a story of secrets or conspiracies, it is a call to consciousness, urging humanity to awaken before the consequences of ignorance become irreversible. History has a way of repeating itself, often in cycles invisible to those living within them. The warning signs are subtle at first: an imbalance of power here, a moral compromise there, but as time progresses, these fissures widen into chasms of societal collapse. The ex-priest draws a chilling parallel between our present era and the downfall of Atlantis, highlighting humanity's relentless pursuit of power without foresight. Moral collapse and power addiction is not a new phenomenon. It is a pattern that has plagued advanced civilizations throughout history. When leaders place ambition above responsibility, when institutions prioritize control over truth, society begins to fragment. Corruption, exploitation, and greed become normalized, eroding the ethical foundation upon which civilization rests. Today, our obsession with technological mastery mirrors the hubris of those ancient civilizations. Technology without wisdom is a critical concern. Humanity has unlocked the secrets of the atom, decoded the genetic blueprint of life, and created artificial intelligence capable of decision-making that rivals human intelligence. Yet, with this godlike power comes the same peril that doomed past civilizations: the inability to govern progress responsibly. Weapons of mass destruction, climate-altering technologies, and digital surveillance systems all represent tools that could either elevate civilization or annihilate it, depending on the moral compass of those in control. The ex-priest warns that we are flirting dangerously close to repeating the mistakes of the ancients, seduced by the promise of unchecked progress while ignoring the ethical consequences. The shadow of a coming reckoning looms over modern society. The ex-priest emphasizes that history is not merely a chronicle of events, but a teacher, encoded with warnings and lessons. Natural disasters, environmental instability, and global conflicts are not isolated incidents. They are reflections of systemic imbalances, signs that humanity may be treading a path towards self-destruction. He draws connections between the Atlantean collapse, the deliberate suppression of knowledge, and the current trajectory of human civilization. The choice before us is stark. We can continue on our path of moral and technological recklessness, or we can awaken to the consequences and alter our course. In this section, the ex-priest also explores the psychological dimension of repeated mistakes. Humanity is often blind to its own destructive patterns, seduced by comfort, convenience, and the illusion of control. Societies can become intoxicated by the trappings of power, wealth, influence, and technology without recognizing the ethical compromises that sustain them. The allure of immediate gratification obscures long-term foresight, making civilizations vulnerable to collapse from within. Yet, the ex-priest leaves room for hope. He emphasizes that awareness is the first step toward breaking these destructive cycles. By examining the parallels between past and present, humanity has the opportunity to learn, adapt, and evolve. The same intelligence that allows us to manipulate matter and information can be harnessed to cultivate wisdom, empathy, and foresight. By integrating ethical reflection into technological and societal advancement, we may prevent history from repeating itself. The ex-priest issues a final, sobering warning. Humanity is at a crossroads. Our current choices, how we wield technology, how we govern power, and how we preserve or suppress knowledge, will determine whether we repeat the errors of the past or rise above them. The shadows of ancient civilizations, including Atlantis, are not mere myths. They are mirrors reflecting our own potential fate. Ignoring these lessons invites catastrophe, but engaging with them demands courage, humility, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. This section closes with a reflection on collective responsibility. Every individual, institution, and leader contributes to the trajectory of civilization. Ignorance, apathy, or deliberate suppression of knowledge all carry consequences. The ex-priest's message is clear. History will judge us not only by what we create, but by how we choose to govern the immense power at our disposal. The echoes of Atlantis are here, warning us through myths, ancient texts, and the hidden knowledge preserved in secret archives. He challenges humanity to listen, to act, and to choose wisdom over hubris before the shadows of reckoning engulf us all. Even after centuries of exploration, debate, and research, there remain layers of knowledge in the Vatican that the public may never witness. The secrets still unrevealed are not merely relics or documents. They are echoes of ancient wisdom, truths considered too dangerous for mass understanding. The ex-priest describes these hidden truths as a shadow network of knowledge, meticulously preserved and fiercely protected. They are fragments of history that challenge everything taught in conventional narratives. suggesting that the Church's role in shaping human civilization has always been entwined with both guidance and secrecy. The archive that will never open stands as a testament to humanity's limits in understanding, beneath the ornate halls of the Vatican lie vaults, whose contents are shielded by complex security systems, both physical and metaphysical. Some texts are rumored to contain theological doctrines that could fundamentally alter our perception of faith, morality, and the origins of human consciousness. Others may hold records of civilizations lost to time, their achievements too advanced or esoteric to be reconciled with the accepted historical timeline. The ex-priest emphasizes that the decision to keep these secrets is not merely about control, it is also about preservation. Certain knowledge, if released prematurely or without context, could ignite confusion, fear, or even chaos on a global scale. Among the most enigmatic treasures lies the last hidden prophecy, a document or vision known to only a select few within the Church. Its contents remain shrouded, hinting at future events with cryptic precision. The ex-priest shares that the prophecy is less a prediction and more a warning, a guide to navigating the fragile intersection of human ambition and cosmic balance. It serves as a final reminder of the immense responsibility that comes with knowledge, the power to influence societies, guide nations, and shape the trajectory of humanity rests in the careful stewardship of those who understand its implications. This final veil represents a philosophical challenge as much as a physical one. The ex-priest reflects on the human desire to uncover every secret, to pry into the unknown, and to possess all knowledge. Yet, he warns, some mysteries are meant to be respected, not fully penetrated. The silence within these archives carries meaning. It is a call for introspection, a reminder that wisdom often comes not from the answers we seek, but from understanding the questions themselves. The section closes by examining the delicate balance between revelation and restraint. Humanity has the potential to reach unimaginable heights, but with that potential comes unparalleled risk. The Church's hidden repositories symbolize both the hope of enlightenment and the peril of misused knowledge. In preserving these final secrets, the Vatican may be acting not as a gatekeeper of power for its own sake, but as a guardian of civilization itself. Ultimately, the final veil is a meditation on trust, responsibility, and the weight of history. It reminds us that while curiosity drives progress, discernment ensures survival. The ex-priest's insights challenge us to consider, what are we prepared to know, and what are we capable of handling? The unanswered questions linger, urging humanity to proceed with caution, humility, and a profound awareness of the shadows that knowledge can cast. The Vatican's shadow and the human soul. 250 words. As we stand at the edge of this labyrinthine journey, it becomes clear that the Vatican is more than a city, more than a spiritual institution. It is a mirror reflecting the deepest recesses of the human soul, a repository of both illumination and shadow. The corridors, the hidden vaults, the forbidden texts, they are symbols, echoes of our collective struggle with knowledge, power, and morality. Just as the Atlantans once faced the intoxicating allure of godlike power, so too do we confront our modern temptations. The Vatican's shadow is not merely political or institutional. It is personal. It whispers to every seeker who dares to question, to every mind that seeks truths hidden from the casual eye. The very architecture, the silent halls, the ancient stones, they hold memories, moral lessons, and warnings. Every secret preserved, every truth obscured, is a reflection of our own inner conflicts, our desires for dominance, for clarity, for understanding. To comprehend the Vatican's shadow is to confront our own duality, the capacity for enlightenment, and the susceptibility to corruption. Knowledge is a double-edged sword. Within the Vatican, as in Atlantis, lies the paradox of human potential. The ancient custodians understood that knowledge without wisdom is a path to ruin. The suppressed texts, the lost gospels, the esoteric teachings all speak to a delicate balance between revelation and restraint. Humanity's progress has always been tethered to the ethical use of knowledge. In the hands of the unprepared, it can fracture civilizations. In the hands of the enlightened, it can uplift them beyond imagination. The ex-priest's revelations force us to consider, how much do we truly understand about the consequences of what we seek? As we peer into forbidden archives, as we uncover ancient relics and prophecies, we are reminded that information alone does not confer morality. Wisdom must accompany insight. Humility must temper ambition. The Vatican's hidden truths are a microcosm of this eternal lesson. They demonstrate that every civilization, no matter how advanced, can falter when knowledge becomes power divorced from conscience. What we choose to learn, how we integrate it, and the reverence with which we approach these mysteries will determine whether we create a world of illumination or descend into chaos. Once more. And so we arrive at the final, unanswerable question. Are we ready to hear the truth, or do we fear it more than the darkness itself? The whispers of the past of Atlantan civilizations, secret orders, forbidden knowledge, and prophetic warnings resonate through time to reach us now. The Vatican, with its shadowed corridors and hidden archives, is a reminder that some truths are so potent they demand responsibility, reflection, and courage. Will humanity embrace these lessons, or will we repeat the mistakes of those who came before? Intoxicated by power, blinded by ambition, the mysteries we chase, the archives we seek, are not simply about ancient events or esoteric teachings. They are about us, about the choices that define our collective destiny. As the final echoes of this journey fade, we are left with the haunting reality that some answers may never be fully revealed, yet their impact shapes every decision we make. The search for truth is endless, the path treacherous, and the stakes unimaginably high. We are left not with closure, but with contemplation, a challenge to navigate the delicate balance between curiosity and caution, ambition and humility, darkness and light. In the silent shadows of the Vatican and within our own souls, the ultimate lesson endures: to seek, to question, and to awaken before it is too late.